From Lalate News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings Lalate.
It's a big morning of Mornings LA with incredible great news about your election stimulus check update of 2022. In today's recording, the President of the United States overnight reassured the American people that Build Back Better Act will get passed. I have the latest comments in a new interview from Joe Biden, who says Build Back Better Act needs to pass because gas prices going up. Wow, I have incredible details in today's morning broadcast from the shores of Santa Monica, California, live on air. Then we'll be turning back to the situation for Access 300. Jay Powell is set to meet this week to discuss inflationary rates. And a new report out today says that inflation for the month of January may track a little bit higher than December. Did I get the number right? All the latest details on how it impacts your Access 300. Then we'll be looking at CR for Stimulus 1.0 right around the corner. And those are large sums of money. $80,000 of checks. Did you hear it? Yeah, you did. $80,000 of new checks are now available to millions of Americans in the next 24 hours. Are you ready to get it, Purple Hawks? Are you ready to pounce? I'll show you how to get it. It's a preview of tonight's 1-hour special broadcast in prime time Evenings LA, featuring those incredible new $80,000 checks that are going out, and you should pounce and get those incredible sums of money. Then we'll be turning back to the situation unfolding over in Ukraine, as Vladimir Putin's actual aggression focusing on Odessa and disrupting the wheat industry as well. What's happening with oil and gas, and what are the new latest details with the humanitarian crisis as women and children fleeing war-torn Ukraine, blocked not once, but now twice, and potentially 3 times, by Russian officials in a corridor that was supposed to be free for them to flee to neighboring Poland. All the latest details today, and why Russia could see its economy go into junk bond status in the next 7 days. The latest details across the board that you need to know. Plus, we'll be looking back at the big money happening from the CR for Stimulus 1, 2, and 3.0. The incredible sums of money that you can get, and those sums of money going out. It's a big broadcast with a lot of money. I'm excited you're here. It's in the shores of Santa Monica, California, because the toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, the coffee is brewing. So long as the butter doesn't go up in price as well. It's a big day, and all the latest economic data that came in overnight, and signaling where we're going this week. A lot of breaking details and a lot of checks. On morning's broadcast, hold that coffee. Don't spill it, because I got some checks for you. It's mornings. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Oh, and there goes the audio. Let's get some audio. Here we go. Oh. We're doing so well. And it's Putin. Oh, it cleared up. We're fixed. We got a Putin solution for everything. Okay, here we go. It's a big day. We have incredible money and a better audio coming in with, the soundtrack solving the solution. It's a day in which we're pivoting and getting big checks across the board and also better audio across the board as well. In this recording, we're going to look at the Build Back Better Act that the President of the United States name-checked overnight. And this is huge. Need those incredible sums of checks? I'll go over all the incredible sums of money and why the President's now advocating for it yet again in a new interview. Then we'll be looking at the $80,000 of new checks going out. Are you ready for those checks? Oh, my goodness, a lot of money. And we're going to start with Build Back Better Act for Stimulus Recon. Lots of checks in there, 3 clusters and 3 add-ons. Are you ready for it? I am as well. Thank you for joining me on a morning's broadcast live from the shores of Santa Monica, California. And here we go. 3 clusters and 3 add-ons that amount to at least $15,000 of checks with incredible sums of money across the board. In that first cluster, we got in there the hazard pay. Earned income tax credit 1 more year, established under third stimulus and broadened, coming under fourth stimulus. Learn about more of these incredible checks in detail in tonight's 1 hour special broadcast. It's Evenings LA at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. America's most watched financial show in prime time. $4,000 of elder care checks got in there into that first cluster as well. They also got in there the Pell Grant, the home repairs, and also the children's checks. Lots of checks in that first of 3 clusters in Build Back Better Act. Now, there is also 3 add-on checks to the Build Back Better Act, and the first one comes from here in the shores of Santa Monica, California. You're looking at a gorgeous pier here in Santa Monica, California, on a beautiful weekend. Hope the weather is good where you are as well. The first add-on checks comes from Maxine Waters, and it is huge. It is a little bit less than $25,000 for the purchase of your first home. In that second cluster of checks, we got home repairs and paid leave. Paid leave is if you have to take off from work due to sickness or illness, and it's huge. $1,700 a week, upwards of $5,000 to $6,000 a year. W-2 1099, you qualify for it. How do you get those checks? I'll feature them tonight in that 1 hour special broadcast of Evenings LA. Now, that is the first of 3 add-on checks to these incredible fourth stimulus Build Back Better Act. But what is the second cluster? As we go into that second cluster, we have more checks across the land, and they include the incredible items for home repairs and paid leave. But when we look at that third add-on checks, we get even more. $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. Incredible. A Joe Biden campaign promise, and got it in there via Bob Casey. Now, let's look at the third cluster checks where we find true deliciousness. Free internet for all checks, farmers checks, independent contractors checks, and seniors checks. Yeah, seniors checks. 2 coming on the House and 3 coming on the Senate side. On the House side, they got the hearing checks and the Medicaid gap fix. On the Senate side, dental, vision, and lowering the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55, which is par for the course of when we're talking about adding checks to the recon. One of those checks they vow to add in there, of course, is MSC. MSC is a body of checks sent out from IRS on a monthly basis that would go on top of the existing checks of Build Back Better Act that already has $15,000 to $60,000 of checks in there. So who gets these MSCs, and how do you qualify for them? MSCs are a monthly IRS stimulus check that would pay out the same as a third stimulus check. The legislators represented the viewership of this channel. So who got a third and who would get a fourth? Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it, double it. Family of 4, quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, or an adult dependent, you'd also get it as well. It's not income, it's not taxable. It's not California stimulus. California, we get a surfboard. And it comes by direct deposit. That was in the most recent tax return, otherwise in the mail. How much does it pay? The legislators represent they would pay $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months. That is MSC. Again, this is an IRS stimulus check that would go on top of the checks that are in the fourth stimulus recon. Later in this video, we're going to go over those $80,000 of checks that are even sooner than this. When and how soon? This coming Monday. Yes, as soon as this coming Monday, a new program will go live with $80,000 or more checks. Are you ready to get them? It's in view of the world events unfolding across the board, and those checks are going out. Not automatic. You got to get your pen and paper ready to get those checks. Stay with me. They're coming up later in this video. Now, the other item that's really heating up, of course, is not just the bacon. It's also CR for Stimulus 1.0. In just a few days from now, the continuing resolution goes for a vote. And that $1.5 trillion of discretionary funding is in there. So what's the update on CR for Stimulus? It's all good. 1. $1.5 trillion of discretionary funding is in there. 2. Bipartisan support. Weeks of negotiations between Republicans and Democrats, House and Senate, all shoring up $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds. How much? It's enough for a $2,000 stimulus check. And when's that inherent deadline? Just a few days away. So you need to advocate Purple Power and make sure they spend the money on you. Pick up the phone and advocate. 2. Those senators, like Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer, advocate and say, hey, you got $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds in there. Make sure you spend it on a stimulus check on us. We support Build Back Better. It's been months of it will become a law, but we need these checks to go out across the board. And pick up the phone and advocate. The great news when you look at Build Back Better Act is that the President of the United States overnight said Build Back Better Act is happening and will pass. In a new interview that will be detailed tonight on Evenings Lalate, Joe Biden sat down with Boston historian Heather Cox Richardson in a new interview and said that Build Back Better Act will get passed, needs to get passed, because millions of Americans are struggling to deal with gasoline prices and inflationary pressures. We reduced items like child poverty by 40%, and you need to do this right now. Now, in a hysteric part of the interview, Joe Biden says, you make me miss being a professor at Pennsylvania. I really enjoyed teaching and writing. A report done after that interview says he actually never taught at Pennsylvania. He was an honorary professor and gave some lectures, but apparently never taught a class. But needless to say, that's besides the point. Yeah, I don't have my bacon either, so we're not worried about that. So as long as we get checks, we don't care if he taught or didn't teach at Pennsylvania. So there you go. SS 300 is next on the horizon. And Jay Powell will have that meeting at FOMC in just a few days. But a new report out today suggests that inflationary numbers may be higher than initially thought. What's at issue? Back last year, I said that inflationary pressures could bring inflation to 8% in the month of December. It came in 7.5%, so I was right, amidst analysts thinking it was going to be 2 to 3%. Well, where's the January number going to be? A new report out today that will be featured on tonight's Evening's LA broadcast, special report at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, suggests that the January numbers about to be released within just a few days are going to track at about 7.5%. Why is this important for you? What do you need to know about this as well? Joe Biden has the opportunity to swap out your benefits for COLA benchmark to inflationary benchmark. What's at issue? Your benefits. SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and railroad benefits are determined annually based upon a benchmark. The current benchmark is COLA. Inflationary is a better benchmark. During her run for campaign for president, Elizabeth Warren said she would replace COLA with inflation. Then Joe Biden adopted his platform, not just in his campaign, but also in his presidential platform at joebiden.com. The way you want this to happen is you want Joe Biden to swap out COLA for inflation now, because it's the highest level across the board. Where's it trending right today? On tonight's Evenings LA, we'll get new insight as to where it is right now and where it could be next month as well. But the good news is that Jay Powell is coming in at about a quarter basis point in the first FOMC meeting in the month of March. His job is to lower inflation. But how fast? You don't want him to lower it before Joe swaps out COLA for inflation. You want to track in. How does this work? The way it works is very simple. Once your benefits go up, they never go down. So you want to be tied to the higher inflationary rate now, raise your benefits up before inflation goes down. Very simple, it is. So where's inflation right now? 7.5% December. Where's it January? On tonight's Evenings LA, I'll show you where that number is likely to come in based upon a new report released minutes ago, and where it could be in the next 30 days. I'll give you my prediction about this across the board. But if Joe Biden was to swap it out today, you would go up about $200 a month right now. Then in December, based upon current analyst numbers, it would likely track at about 4%. That would be another $100, SS 300. That's why Joe Biden needs to make the phone call across the land. Meantime, while we talk about CR for Stimulus 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, SS 300, Build Back Better Act, out of nowhere, everyone got shocked this week when $80,000 of new stimulus checks were announced. This is exciting. This really brings us back to day one of this channel. This involves you to get your pen, your paper, your keyboard, your mouse, your telephone ready to pounce to get this money. This is not a tin cup situation where you sort of wiggle your tin cup and wait for it to land into the tin cup. No, you got to pounce. This is just like EIDL or PUA, where I show viewers there's an application, there's a website, there's a form. You fill it out. I go through the form with you. I answer your questions. I show you how to do it. And you get the money. This is not you go to the mailbox and you see $80,000, a wad of cash thrown in there. You can get this money. It's all for you. And it's coming up in the second half of this broadcast. It's direct and live from Santa Monica, California, with $80,000 of new checks. Plus, we'll be looking at the situation unfolding over in Ukraine and how it impacts your money back at home. We'll be looking at the situation for wheat and grain prices and gasoline prices surging out of control. We'll look at the humanitarian crisis as millions of citizens of Ukraine, women and children, trying to flee war-torn Ukraine, blocked not once, twice, but potentially 3 times in less than 24 hours on this channel by you Russian officials, despite an agreement to establish a safe corridor to Poland. What's going on and what is the situation unfolding today? The latest details on that and how it impacts you back at home. Meantime, what could be happening with wheat, grain, soybean this week, and gasoline prices? New data about where gasoline prices could track this coming week. It's all coming up in the second half of this morning's broadcast live from the shores of Santa Monica, California. I'm excited for you to be with me, and I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. If you need assistance for rent, see you back in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join Lalate Daily for the excitement of the new Lalate live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings Lalate at 9 a.m. Home Lalate returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons Lalate at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on Lalate. And the details continue tonight now from Santa Monica, California, with what's unfolding overseas and impacts your wallet at home. 2 corridors that were supposed to be established for Ukrainian women and children to flee into war-torn safe harbor in Poland have been blocked yet a second time. What's the situation right today at the time of this broadcast? I'll be featuring that in just a minute. But first, we're going to turn back to your big money and $80,000 in new checks being released. Are you ready? Because the toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, and the coffee is brewing. It's a big morning with a lot of checks, and we're just getting started in this broadcast live from the shores of Santa Monica, California this morning. The incredible details at issue is that the President of the United States surprised everyone with $80,000 of incredible new stimulus checks. And this is bringing us back to day one of this channel. It involves a pen, a paper, a phone, a website, and you are ready to pounce. Are you ready? I'm ready to give you the details. And tonight on Evenings LA, you're going to be very excited to get this sums of money. What's at issue? It brings us back to day one of this channel. And what is it called? It's called the Homeowners Assistance Fund. Average payout, $15,000 to $80,000 of stimulus checks. Now let's understand, day one of this channel involved me going on camera telling you, I can get you $10,000 of a grant. I can get you $150,000 of a loan. I can get you $15,000 to $16,000 of unemployment assistance. And involved me showing you where to go, how to fill out the application, showing you the website, showing you any problems with the website, answering your questions. We're going a complete circle back to day one, baby, because here we go. This is not taking your tin cup and shaking and saying, when is a check landing in my tin cup? Or going to the mailbox saying, when is it landing in my mailbox? This involves you to make the effort, not a lot of it, but to go to a website, fill out the words, and understand it, and I'm here to help you. If you remember this channel, it was added in the membership newsletter starting last Friday and will be featured in the membership newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that is sent out via the YouTube alert system and the Lalate alert system. To become a member, the link is under the video. What is this money? It's $15,000 to $80,000 per household, and the eligibility is the same as a third stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 or less annual income, you qualify. Married couple, $150,000 or less, you qualify as well. The program is being administered by the U.S. Department of Treasury with $10 billion of funding and being run on a state and local level. There's a website, there's a map. It's all featured in the membership newsletter. Now, the reason why this is so exciting is because, one, it's about to go live. Two, it's a lot of money, $15,000 to $80,000 per household. And number three, it's for items that we've asked for over a year and a half and often never had funds for. Now, remember, this may look like third stimulus. It's different. You can get this in addition to everything covered in this video. This is for SSI and SSDI as well. You qualify if you have a primary residence. And it involves coverage and payment for items that are absolutely incredible, like property taxes, never paid for any stimulus program ever before on this channel, homeowners insurance, association fees, utilities assistance, and certain home repairs. What is it called? It's called the Homeowners Assistance Fund, and it has a website and was a status. The website is about to go live, but is administered at a state level. Does this look familiar? It looks familiar. It's much like what I did with unemployment assistance of PUA on day one. PUA was a national program, but administered at state levels. So some states went live, other states hadn't. This is a first come, first come opportunity to get paid. So stay with me. I'll feature more about it and how to get those sums of money tonight in that 1 hour special broadcast. Evenings at light, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, America's most watched financial news show in prime time. All right, that is those $80,000 of checks. SS300 would heat up as well. The opportunity to raise your benefits up $200 a month right now if Joe Biden makes that phone call and swaps out COLA with inflation. Jay Powell will be determining this week if there's a quarter basis point or a half basis point. But new economic data is also to be released this week that'll show us if inflation is tracking higher than December's 7.5% rate. My prediction, inflation will track at about 8% for a few months and then settle down around low 7s to 6s, potentially by May. Jay Powell's task is to bring it down to 4%. That's why Joe Biden needs to make the swap for COLA to inflation now to raise your benefits across the board. CR for Stimulus 1.0, right on the horizon, just a few days away, mid-March, the opportunity to insert a $2,000 stimulus check in there. And CR for Stimulus 2.0 and 3.0, right behind that as well. Incredible sums of money. You need those sums of money. And the importance of getting them out the door is very important across the land. But Build Back Better Act right behind that. And in new comments by the President of the United States, he assures the American people that Build Back Better Act will get passed. Those new comments are a new interview overnight. And he says all these incredible checks are needed because you're dealing with inflationary pressures, gasoline prices, and more. And what do you need to know about that? Today, I have the latest breaking details on what happened with oil and gas and wheat overnight, and it's actually surprising. The situation when we look at oil prices right now is that AAA, which is a benchmark for determining where oil prices and gasoline prices are going nationwide, says that currently U.S. consumers in the United States are paying an average of $3.83 a gallon for unleaded as of Friday. Again, AAA now says that as of last Friday, 2 days ago, the average price of unleaded gasoline in the United States was about $3.83 a gallon for unleaded. If you're in the live chat, tell me how much you see it locally. They say that is up 11 cents compared to the day before. Big move in just one day. How about per the week? They say it's up 26 cents week to date. But how about this coming week? Analysts now believe, including AAA, that it could go to $4 a gallon by this coming week. This is the nationwide average, and in some states, it's much higher. Here in Los Angeles, it's been $5 a gallon for a very long time. Why is this happening? It's important to understand why it's happening. It's important to understand what's being dealt with it. And it's important to figure out why it's important to track it and not lose focus on it. Gasoline is a major economic force. And if gasoline prices go out of control, then our economy gets destabilized. What is destabilization? Recession. Analysts now believe that gasoline prices continue to track too high. We'll go into recession next year and the year after. So how do we bring gasoline prices down? We increase production domestically. Or we get our partner countries to increase production as well. Why are gasoline prices going up? They're going up because Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia only provides 5% of the gasoline to the United States, but is a major provider of gasoline to our partners. With less Russian gasoline available, then what's happening is the price of gasoline internationally, called Brent crude, is going higher. What's the breaking news on Brent crude right today? At the time of this broadcast, you're watching it on March 6th, certainly after sunrise on the West Coast here in Santa Monica, California. Oil prices are tracking at 118 for Brent crude, unchanged. They were up to 118 yesterday, but they have tracked from about 110 to about 120 in the last 7 days. When Vladimir Putin first invaded Ukraine, they shot up to about $100. The White House pivoted, released some barrels, brought it down to 94, and then shot up to 100. What is sustainable? What's not sustainable? Many analysts believe that anything over 120 is not sustainable for more than a few months. So what is the White House doing? The White House, in the series of new comments featured tonight on Evening's LA 1 hour special broadcast, says that the Build Back Better Act needs to be passed because you need to deal with gasoline. I'll take whatever anchor you can use to pass Build Back Better, whether you blame it on gasoline or blame it on wheat. But gasoline still needs to be solved. And the risk of gasoline is embedded in the markets currently, with Wall Street analysts saying, get ready for recession for 2 years if we don't get gasoline prices down. So how do you bring gasoline prices down? You increase production domestically, like in West Texas. And then you get our partner countries overseas that are dependent upon Russian oil, like Italy, to get their gasoline from somewhere else. Where are those other places? I'll feature the solutions and what should be done in tonight's Evening's LA broadcast. But here's the big problem, the very big problem across the board. It's wheat. Wheat? Yes, corn, soybean, and wheat. Wall Street and also the White House have not assessed the risk of wheat disruption from Vladimir Putin's acts of aggression. What's at issue? We already saw the buildup of troops of Russian forces back in October, and at the time, the White House dispensed no one in Treasury to analyze whether wheat disruption would happen if Putin invaded Ukraine. What's its issue? Ukraine is a major exporter of wheat, and at issue is this city, Odessa, the crown jewel of the Black Sea. It's on the coast. It's a major agrarian area. Vladimir Putin has not taken Odessa. I featured Odessa for the last week on this channel. But if Vladimir Putin takes Odessa, what would he do? He would control all import or export of the country of Ukraine. Now, a breaking news report coming out today from UK, England, suggests that the war in Ukraine is not going to be a day, not going to be a week, but actually far more serious. I've been reporting for several days that I believe the war in Ukraine will be at least a few months. The new report suggests it could be several years. Several years? Has the White House prepared to pivot and solve the wheat and grain prices? What is the wheat and grain crisis? It's nothing like you would have ever seen in the United States. Wheat and grain prices surging out of control, soybean and corn and oil, if they're not stabilized. They've gone up already to 8-year highs in the last 7 days. And yet when asked about the situation, the White House admits they haven't done anything to analyze the situation, to pivot or figure out where we can stabilize wheat prices. Oil, everyone understands it. Gasoline, everyone understands it. But wheat, not so much. It's a little more complicated. Because if you don't plant the wheat this year, you don't have wheat next year. And if the crops are destroyed and not soiled, or irrigated or tendered for one season because of a Russian occupation, this could disrupt wheat for years to come. I'll have more about tonight on Evenings Lalate's 1 hour special broadcast. Meantime, going back to the situation unfolding in Ukraine, it's very fluid right now, and I have the latest details of what's happening in Ukraine and what's happening with Vladimir Putin and how it impacts you at home. The situation is very fluid with very different comments coming from British officials than even American officials. Let's go over the details starting right now. First, the humanitarian crisis is really getting bad and going from bad to actually worse. What's at issue? If you wanted to flee Ukraine, where would you normally flee? And what's called basically a safe corridor. A safe corridor is an area established where women and children, grandmothers can flee. What would it look like if it was in the United States? It would look, for example, like a highway. Your city council would say, hi, over the next 5 hours today, you can pack up your belongings and flee on the highway to the next country. There will be no one disrupting you. There will be no bombing. There will be no militia, and you can flee safely. That's what it visually would look like. What happened? This last week, there was a series of negotiations between Russian and Ukrainian officials. Of those negotiations, the glimmering hope was one agreement in which a safe harbor corridor was established in two cities. So, they had the date, they had the time, and they had the city ready. The city councils of those cities said, women and children, get ready. The next few hours, you can flee. They picked up their belongings. They went into the corridor, and they started ahead to Poland. And what did the women and children see? They saw the road blocked by Russian military. They heard bombings, and they immediately fled back into their homes. This is not what was guaranteed. This was a violation of human rights and a violation of agreement between Ukrainian and Russian officials. That was featured on Saturday's broadcast of March 5th on this channel. Today, at the time of this broadcast, March 6th, made shortly after, which you're watching live, shortly on the West Coast, on a Sunday morning, it's a very fluid situation. It looks like at the moment that there's either been 2 or 3 violations. It's hard to keep track of how many times they've attempted this. On Saturday, Ukrainian and Russian officials met again and then said, okay, the safe corridors will be clear. Russian officials are air. We will make it clear. And then it happened again. Women and children had the 5-hour window approximately to go in the corridor, and Russian officials blocked them. And they heard bombings, and they had to flee back in there. It's unclear if we're on the second or third violation by Russian officials, but it continues to unravel by the minute. At the time of this broadcast, Mariupol City Council announced that a second temporary safe harbor corridor was blocked. And Ukrainian Interior Minister Anton Gerhowski said today, Sunday, March 6th, that once again Russia had violated the safe corridor exit for women and children. Again, it's hard to keep track of which number it is, but it looks like it's either the second or third attempt. Elsewhere, new sanctions have been announced. President Zelensky says that the United States has now guaranteed new sanctions against Russia and new aid to Ukraine. What happens if President Zelensky dies in battle? Secretary of State Anthony Blinken was asked this question this morning and says that plans are in place, quote, if Ukraine President Zelensky is killed during Russian occupation of Ukraine. But he could not go into details for obvious reasons. The Ukrainian have in place a plan I'm not going to talk about, but they will continue the continuity of the government one way or another. How about Russia and its economy? When this war started, Russia was the number 10th economy in the globe. By the time of this recording, it's likely number 15th. Today, Moody's Analytics, which determines the valuation of companies, economies, and municipalities, said that Russia may only have a 35% chance of ever recovering as an economy. My prediction is that if this continues, Russia is likely to fall off the top 20 by the end of this week, and there could potentially be junk bond status thereafter. I'll be staying with the current status of the Russian economy imploding by the minute. U.S. has now dedicated more planes to be sent over to Poland to help the issue across the board. We're looking actively now to more airplanes that Poland can provide and how that could backfill should Poland decide to supply those planes to Ukraine. So the United States providing planes to Poland that they can provide them then to Ukraine officials. Blinken said those comments minutes ago. Again, I can't speak about a timeline, but we're looking into it. Odessa, that crown jewel of the Black Sea. Featured on this channel for over a week, the number one import city for Ukraine. What's Vladimir Putin's approach? Vladimir Putin's approach is to take it. It's been 1 week and he's not been able to take it. So what is he trying to do? He's trying to take the number one port city to cut off the economy of Ukraine. It would also negatively impact world economies we do business with, because countries that we do business with, like Italy and France and others, get imports and exports out of that port. Earlier this week, Vladimir Putin was successful in taking the major power plant in the center of Ukraine, which provides 80% of the power to Ukrainian citizens. So he's trying to commandeer the industries that control Ukraine as a whole. Overnight, Vladimir Putin said an absolutely horrible, horrible sentence when referring to Ukraine. And it is absolutely showing his mindset as to where the situation is unfolding. I'll feature that comment tonight on Evenings LA. But what about Odessa? President Zelensky said minutes ago that Russians have always come to Odessa with kindness, felt only warmth from the Odessa people, and sincerity. And now what? Artillery against Odessa, missiles against Odessa. This will be a war crime and a historic war crime. Elsewhere, a new comment by the British Prime Minister and other British officials says that more needs to be done in Russia, against Russia, and more needs to be done in Ukraine. What are those comments and why are they so important to us? The new comments that will be featured tonight in that 1 hour special broadcast of Evenings LA direct from the shores of Santa Monica, California, are that the situation overseas may be a lot more elaborate than many people think right now. What's at issue? The British comments suggest that when you look at the situation right now, as featured on this channel, with Odessa being circled for over a week but not falling, and Vladimir Putin taking Gershon quickly but not taking other cities, how long will this go on? The new report from British officials suggests that this may not be a battle of a few days, but a battle of a few years. A war between Ukraine and Russia for a few years, what does this mean on our wallet? I'll feature the analysis tonight on Evenings LA and what our international partners should do to size up the situation across the board. Meantime, the humanitarian crisis is growing by the minute. The number of refugees in Poland growing overnight. It has grown nearly 500,000 per day. 500,000 on Friday, 1 million on Saturday, 1.5 million at the time of this broadcast. Sunday, March 6th, shortly before 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The humanitarian crisis in Poland needs assistance from UN officials who now believe and now estimate that the number of refugees fleeing into Poland could be the largest refugee movement since World War II. Many of the towns in Ukraine that are have citizens fleeing right now, are 300,000 to multi-million resident cities. These are very large cities. And the number of refugees could surge to 10 million within just days. Vladimir Putin's acts of aggression is not letting up. And that impact on your wallet at home going to be featured today across the board. Coming up next is Home Lalate, where we go over your big money at home and how it's impacted internationally. It's the I Support Ukraine edition, and I'll go over the money impacted across the land. Meantime, later today at 3 o'clock, is a brand new Afternoons Lalate. I'll feature the latest details impacting your wallet and those new $80,000 stimulus checks. And then tonight, of course, at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, is a brand new Evenings Lalate. It's America's most watched financial news show in prime time. It's 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. If you have a question or comment, a suggestion, or monies you want to get featured on this channel, send me a private message. Finally, third stimulus. Have you gotten third stimulus? You need to. Because third stimulus is an addition to all these incredible sums of money, and viewers are cleaning up. Third stimulus is paying viewers on average $45,000 of money, and I want you to get those big sums of money. So where do you get it? Become a member, but at least follow along right now. Here you go. You can reach out to 6 places. Your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, your county housing authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. Reach out to all 6 places. Put multiple applications on file and make sure you do multiple rounds. Now, the viewers of this channel are really taking those multiple rounds to another level because in recent days, viewers are getting upwards of an incredible 1 years of rent. In some cases, they are getting upwards of 7 years of assistance. Definitely needed in time of economic uncertainty, like an oil surge across the board. So do what you can do and always impress everyone across the board. Open that membership newsletter and get these incredible sums of money. Meantime, rely on those nonprofits because they often pay for other sums of money as well. The average view of this channel has gotten $45,000, and remember, this is in addition to those $80,000 of checks going live next week. This is in addition to Build Back Better, MSC, and it's also in addition to CR for stimulus. Get those incredible sums of money across the board. Meantime, we have a lot of shows coming up today, and coming up next is Home Edition at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Look forward to seeing you then, where we go over more about your money and your incredible checks and the international impact of these world events as we send our prayers to the people of Odessa and all throughout Ukraine. It's a big day, and we're just getting started. The toast was toasting, the butter was buttering, and the coffee's brewing. See you at noontime as LA continues.